The only way this could work,
if
the Wyatt Sicks has a higher calling. And who's that higher power?
I'm a champion!
Let's dive into Wyatt Sicks. So Bo Dallas is Uncle Howdy, which, you know...
Which Chad figured out, by the way. None of us knew about that.
Yeah, hilarious.
Uncle Howdy is none other than Bo Dallas. Now, I know you had a little...
Thank you, Chad.
That's a good point. A bit of comedy is being presented around this. Michael Cole's reactions, no one's like really freaked out by it anymore.
Yeah.
When Chad's going on about, I made the discovery, I found out that Bo Dallas is actually Uncle Howdy, and on commentary, Michael Cole's like, duh, and the rest of Alpha Academy are like, yeah, we knew this. In a way, I think it's brilliant that they've made Bo Dallas, what we were saying about Wyatt Sicks previously, they need to be humans. They can have their masks, they can do the scary stuff, but we need to be emotionally connected to the humans behind it, and we need to know what their why is, whatever. Before we get to Bo Dallas, I guess we talk about Rowan, because there was another VHS delivered, this time to the Pat McAfee show.
Yeah.
They played that in, then they played the VHS in, and we got, the greatest moment of Rowan's career.
I totally agree.
For me, that was better than the 2 sit-downs that Bo had. It felt more like this was actually therapy for him, sort of thing.
How exposing and real. He talked about losing his brother, of course, talking about Luke Harper. He then talked about when he pulled himself out of that despair, he lost his other brother, Bray Wyatt. And then he talked about kind of just, he said he was so, I'm paraphrasing, but he said he's so far down the well, he couldn't pull himself up. And he said, who would miss me? I'm just Rowan.
Yeah.
Which fits to the kind of rest of the group and what we're getting with Bo and what presumably we'll get with Nikki Cross. Nikki Ash. Nikki Ash. It's like they have been forgotten. They're the forgotten ones. They're the underutilized ones. They're the ones that no one cares about. But this was heartbreaking.
The VHS vignettes are the best thing in this whole Wyatt Sicks stuff, in my opinion.
So this is interesting
so
because
far I'd agree. Yeah.
But I thought it was you, Mekz, but maybe it was Kev or maybe it was Ash. But someone was saying, but they're going to get boring really quickly. We can't just rely on these VHS.
I think what they've done is, okay, so last week we didn't get one. So they're spacing it out. It's not like week after week we're just kind of bringing through the 6 members one after another. I think that might have got boring. But they're breaking it up. Bo Dallas has now emerged from just that room and he's now kind of in the universe in that sense. And then we've went to Rowan, who is, I guess, the next biggest star within this whole story. And like you said, there was just that performance, although it's all trauma and stuff he's talking about, it's the best we've ever seen him presented, at least. He's done a lot of stuff. If you remember the spider stuff that he was doing that time when he had that giant spider.
He had the box
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
This was absolutely like an insight into what this guy's gone through the loss of these 2 people close to him. And the part that broke me was that, who's Rowan? Like, why are people going to care about me ultimately, sort of thing. Like,
and when he was holding the goat mask, is goat mask or sheep?
Sheep
mask at the end, and having all the flashbacks with the Wyatt family. And I just think I think that was a beautiful piece again. Like Bo a few weeks ago killed it. Rowan's killed it. The next, whoever's next to do their vignette, they need to step up too, man. Because with them it's different because they're actually going through real life grief. And what they're talking about. So what is Nikki going to talk about? I
don't know.
That's the thing.
My first instinct is what I said, like previous career stuff and being the forgotten one, or lumbered with terrible gimmicks. Nikki ASH and all that stuff. But yeah, that's not on the same level. I don't know if I think she'd had, and I haven't researched this, so I might be speaking out of turn, but I think she had personal problems with weight and things like that.
Okay.
I think possibly in the past. So that could come into it, I don't know. But I wanted to pose this question. So this is a tweet I put out. In Bray Wyatt's documentary, which I watched over the weekend, which is exceptional. Shout out to the team who created that. Triple H, he kept asking Bray during this time of like, you've got all these wicked ideas and it's mystical and incredible to watch, but how do we transfer your ideas to the ring? And I put on Twitter yesterday, whilst this was never successfully realised properly with Bray, I believe WWE is now creatively strong enough to see it through. And as fate would have it, it's grief for Bray that's driving the whole thing.
Right.
So I think in a way there's something really special about it. But can this translate to the ring? Because Bo's reaction that he got from the crowd, and this is the first time Bo Dallas has been in front of a live crowd as himself in years.
Yeah.
There wasn't a big pop.
There was some sort of reaction.
There was a bit of reaction,
Yeah.
but it wasn't a huge pop.
I think it was more like a gasp. I don't think it was necessarily a pop situation. It was more like,
Maybe that's fair.
would he come out? And then when he did start walking out, you heard the,
Yeah.
like he's here, more kind
Okay,
of a
okay.
reaction.
That's fair.
Because not all silence is bad. Sometimes people are just in awe.
I would
Or
think
like,
that
what's he
was a
going to do?
silence.
Some people just, it wasn't completely silenced.
Yeah,
there was
yeah.
a reaction. But
What a great point.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes,
yeah.
I think we judge things when it's not as loud as the others and thinking, oh yeah, that didn't go down. Some people are just like, what's going to happen here?
Yeah.
And they're just speechless.
Yeah.
So,
He didn't get the Road Warrior pop.
No.
He's over. He's through.
you know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair. Okay. But do you think they can? I'm still so torn. And as much as I trust Triple H and Rob Lees and everyone that's been brought on to do this long-term storytelling with these guys, there's such, we're talking about how emotive and how beautiful and how powerful the VHS stuff is. But then when they get to the arena, how does that translate when the bell rings?
Yeah.
And is it chaotic enough? If other performers, like Sheamus the other week, it came off of one of the VHS packages, I think. He was like, well, that was weird.
That was weird. Yeah.
And then Michael Cole's not being scared. And then we had this weird, which I actually missed crazily, but you said about how they had security guards dead on the announce table and no one even referenced it. It's like going back to that ECW arena type vibe, I feel like things need to be crazier with them. It needs to be a bit, I don't want to use Retribution as an example, but like they need to appear from nowhere rather than these grand entrances, which are clearly staged and choreographed and look phenomenal.
I agree with that.
Maybe more sanity. Remember sanity in NXT?
Yeah.
Maybe something like that. They weren't supernatural, but they were like renegades or whatever. But yeah, to Skillit's point, I feel like everything that they're doing that's probably the pre-recorded stuff, they're nailing.
Yeah.
It's the stuff they now have to do live in front of the audience, which I'm personally still not 100% on board with.
And I think this is my point, right? So much of WWE right now, when you think about the performers in the ring, generally it's sort of based in real life. Like if you look at the performers, the matches, the sports-like presentation of everything. I really love the stuff that they've started introducing where the wander through gorilla position, the backstage walks, the being with fans in the foyer. Yeah. They start the show with the talents walking into the arena with the little timestamp and what time they arrived. But then to go from that into this group where it's overly staged, overly choreographed entrances, all theatrical and lighting effects and smoke machines, does it fit? Like we were talking about last week and John Cena and what his run is going to be like. Like they've got to make it fit within the current WWE product. And right now, I think there's a disconnect between what we're seeing on the VHSs and then what we're seeing in front of the live crowds.
I would agree. They have to kill all the effects and sort of thing. And maybe it's just more like they just run in and have, get to work on whatever they need to do sort of thing. Like a sanity, like we say. As you were just speaking there, it took me to Batman Dark Knight, the Joker. Mm-hmm. And just how he was just this crazed person. And it's just like maybe something more so like that. Someone just turns up, they're in their mask and stuff. Eventually, like we say, they remove their mask and they're just a bit more crazed as opposed to having all the pageantry around it. It definitely doesn't fit. When you break it down like that, it doesn't fit in like this sports production that we're getting.
It's like when, like I noticed, and I look for these kind of things, and I just noticed these kind of things when Chad Gable and I mean, we need to mention this. He was obviously backed by the Creed brothers.
Yeah.
So we're getting that connection, which we love. But as they were beating down Bo Dallas in the ring, who was just laughing it off, which is quite powerful in itself.
Like the Joker. Like the Joker.
Like the Joker, yeah. That's a great reference. But in the back of shot, you could see a cameraman in the aisle pointing towards the entranceway. So you know someone else is coming out.
Yeah.
So it's like they're waiting for the big Wyatt Sicks entrance, which means they're in gorilla position. But didn't they destroy that when they first arrived?
Yeah. Now it's like they're
Do you know what I
walking through
mean?
like, hey, Trips, you right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Bruce, we're just heading out now. Pop on the old masks.
Yeah.
Whereas I want, in the, going to the real sports presentation that WWE is doing, I want the cameramen to be running hurriedly to go and find them because they're
WWE
over
would have
there.
done that. You remember back in NWO with the whole invasion stuff?
Yeah.
Bischoff thought about everything when it comes to that kind of stuff.
It needs to
And
be
that's
more
what they
like
need
that.
to do. Yeah. That's exactly what they need to do.
It needs to be more like that.
And this is another thing. I mean, I don't want to go into another subject because we're going to talking about Drew, right? This is why Drew is right not to apologize. Why would he apologize for assaulting 2 referees? And why should I apologize when you ain't done nothing with Bo Dallas? You ain't done nothing with Bo. You ain't done that with the Wyatt Sicks. They've killed people. And you want me to apologize for pushing over 2 refs? No.
That's okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that is where I worry. Because that's another great point.
They need to be consistent.
They need to be
It has
consistent.
to be consistent all round. It's too much. I want this Wyatt Sicks thing to work, but you guys are right. Everything you've said, I agree with. It needs to be a bit more reality based.
We said this week 1 when they came back. Like, you committing to this and doing this properly, you've got to involve this entire WWE universe. And even as early as the first misstep of that week was having Raw talk after the show when you had literally shown us everything is destroyed.
Exactly.
Like, Raw talk should have been cancelled. We should have maybe even got vignettes if they wanted to go as far as stuff on social media of people like calling Adam Pearce, I'm not coming to work next Monday. Like, sort it out, sort of thing. Like, we really need to commit to all of this. And it's like, why is this just on Raw? Why is it not on SmackDown as well? They're not signed to any brand as we know it. So
The only way this... No, I'm not going to say it.
Go on.
I'm going to say something ridiculous.
Go on.
The only way this could work,
Yeah.
if the Wyatt Sicks has a higher calling. And who's that higher power? It's me, Austin! It was me all along!
you were doing so well. You were doing so well.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Such a well-constructed, well thought out conversation we were having. All just ruined immediately.
I'm so sorry, guys.
No, I think you're right. I think that's a good idea. No, it's we see the other wrestlers arriving in cars or whatever, or Cody on his bus. I want to see them arriving in their, clapped out camper van, and then just crashing into something every time they arrive. Like we've got to, everything has to connect. And as one of you just said, you need to commit 100% to this and join all the dots. And I worry that the dots aren't being joined at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm a champion!